This infield was me not at my best. This infield is not me at, being really smooth and charismatic. It's me being just barely good enough, just barely good enough to make it work. I was feeling somewhat nervous. I was a little bit hesitant. Basically, I'm not at my most charismatic. My nonverbal communication is not as good as it is in a lot of my other infields. But the girl that I end up pulling, she's a fitness model. She's very attractive. And this is really useful to see because when you watch all this pickup content, what do you start to think? You start to think, okay, I have to have my vocal tonality a certain way. I have to have my eye contact a certain way. I have to have all these different things perfect.
Yeah.
It's very easy to fall into that frame that everything kind of needs to be perfect. And yes, all those things matter, but you don't need to be perfect. You can make mistakes and still succeed. So, this is a great example of being just barely good enough. And if you're just barely good enough, but you also lead things forward, right? You move things forward. You make sure you're not just like, hey, girl, where are you going to pull me? Will you make something happen for me? Can you do the work for me? Can you pull out my dick and suck it? As long as you're
Mm.
actually taking the lead, you can still make it work despite having a mediocre interaction. And that's why I really want to show this and break it down because the girl is very hot by society standards. I have to blur her face, but she's very hot. And it still works despite being imperfect. And this is an infield where I'm going to be criticizing myself a lot. It's one where I'm going to be showing mistakes and not just like saying I'm perfect, right? Because I think it's important to have a balanced perspective that no matter how experienced you are, you're going to have interactions where you're not extremely smooth. You're going to have interactions that are not perfect, but you can still make those work. And even if you're a newbie, as long as the girl hooks, as long as the girl's interested, as long as she's open to the idea of something happening, you do not have to do everything correctly. You do not have to have amazing eye contact. You don't have to have the vocal tonality of like, I don't know, James Bond or something. You don't have to be extremely charismatic. You can still make it work. So that's why I want to go over this one.
Yeah, and I think that's going to be very helpful because I noticed like when I'm out there, I'm like thinking. I mean, it's good that I'm thinking like the next step, but I'm not really focused in on the conversation. I'm just like, all right, I got to do this, I got to do that, I got to do that.
All right, well, let's check it out.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Interesting outfit.
Thanks.
So the cameraman took a second to actually start filming. This is a common problem when you're doing infield. I believe I did the initial approach and I just said, hey, like, I like your guys' style or something like that. It was something along those lines. And then she says, oh, thank you. By the way, it's my birthday. And I'm worried, oh, she's going to try to get a drink out of me or something. But that's basically where it's starting.
Why would you leave Texas?
I know, right? Why?
Why not go
are
to
we
Austin
here?
or something? Find some hipster guys, you know?
Texas?
I've been to
Okay, so already a lot going on there. First of all, in terms of my tonality, it's higher pitched than say now. It's not really breaking rapport. And that's because I'm kind of nervous. I don't remember the exact reason, but I was kind of in my head. Being filmed, it is nerve-wracking. That's part of the reason. Part of the reason was I don't think I had filmed in a long time before this, but I was kind of nervous. I was not like my tonality is not dominant. It's not super masculine, but verbally, what I'm doing is a lot better. So non-verbally, I'm not feeling extremely confident, and you can tell. But despite that, verbally, I'm already being playful. I'm already teasing the girl. I'm already saying, "Oh, why would you leave Texas?" Like
Mhm.
as if it's a downgrade or it's a little bit challenging, right? There's an emotional implication. It doesn't even necessarily make logical sense, but there's an implication of something interesting about that. And then I say, like, why don't you go get some hipster guys? Because I don't know why I associate hipster guys with Texas. It doesn't even make sense. But it's already framing her as a girl that tries to pick up guys. And that's
Yeah,
a very powerful frame. The frame that she's the one who's going to be hitting on me. I'm not trying to pick her up. She's the kind of girl that just picks up guys. And I'm getting away with it because it's in the context of a role play, right? Because it's something playful. It's not super serious. And then I'm
yeah,
setting a frame where she's the pursuer and she's the one picking me up.
Austin, yeah.
Austin, okay, Austin's fun. We're not
If you like hipsters, place to be. You guys like Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants or
I just like that.
I don't even know what that movie is really. Like I think I heard that line years ago, like 10 years ago. and I said it a few times, and it almost always gets a good reaction. So still sometimes subconsciously I say, like, are you the Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants? It's some movie about girls who like share a pair of jeans or something. I have no fucking clue, to be honest.
Yeah.
But it gets a good reaction, so I still say it sometimes.
We're actually gonna go to a dispensary right now.
Oh, it sounds like a good time. Oh, that's. I thought you were a teacher or something. That's your.
So that's useful information. We're about to go to a dispensary. I'm logging that in because that could I'm remembering that because that could be something that I pull with later, right? They're talking about smoking weed. I know that my friend has weed and I might be able to pull with that later. So I'm keeping that in mind. I'm remembering that and not just like letting that go.
Like dry erase marker.
Say teacher to you? Is that what's going on?
It says teacher with a life outside of teaching.
Okay, shit, I'll take it.
Teacher that gets down. There's nothing wrong with that.
Okay, so I just compared her to a teacher based on her vape kind of looked like a dry erase marker. And so I'm saying she reminds me of a teacher. What does that kind of do? She's a very attractive girl by society standards, and teachers are not considered the sexiest profession. It's kind of a nerdy, right, kind of dorky profession. And so I'm putting that frame on her, which is teasing, right? It's challenging her, it's playful.
We're
How am I?
you're a little on the short side.
Do I want him longer?
Bodyguard.
Oh,
What's
so
going on here?
awesome.
Everything okay here?
No, they're being a little aggressive.
Yeah,
To
you
be
should
honest.
arrest him, actually.
Arrest him? Arrest?
You never arrest me.
So I said they're being aggressive. Again, there's a frame there that she's the one pursuing, right? She's the one who's interested in me. She's being aggressive. This is one of the biggest differences between someone who's new to game and someone who's more advanced. They frame girls as the ones that are after them. Like they have to deal with girls being too aggressive. They reverse the normal frame where it's guys pursuing women. It's girls pursuing them. One of the things I talk about is unpredictability. And a great way to be unpredictable, to be different from the other men that a girl talks to, is by creating the frame that the girl is the pursuer, that you're not the one pursuing, the girl is the one pursuing.
I'm gonna arrest you.
Are you sure you don't need to be arrested? What is that? That looks like a strange, it's a large device, unknown.
This is fantasy
Drugs.
love, so
Fantasy love.
apparently.
You might need to be
Quite
checked.
the
Really
name.
exotic tonight.
That shit is
Where'd you
fast.
get that? At a sex store? Fantasy
Oh
love?
my God. Yeah, I did. Yeah.
You get your
That's where
weed
I got
pens
it.
at sex
That's-
stores? Like
yeah.
fantasy?
That's where I buy all my vapes, sex stores.
Hell yeah.
That's probably the way to do it. You can.
Now there, I just accused her of going to a sex store. So again, this is like a theme throughout the entire interaction. Even though like I'm not really happy with how my vocal tonality sounds in this interaction. Verbally though, it's really good because I'm constantly in a joking, in a playful way, framing her as the sexual deviant, as her as the one that's trying to seduce me rather than me trying to pick her up. And so that's very important to be aware of. That's something that's really useful and it's something that very few men actually do.
Die for your country, but you can't smoke a cigarette?
That's what I'm saying.
Or drink?
Oh my God.
Who made these rules?
I know.
And there, even though still my vocal tonality isn't the best, I am speaking with a lot of enthusiasm. You can die for your country, but you can't smoke. You can't smoke a cigarette. I'm just speaking with enthusiasm, which gets you a long way.
I'm going to Congress. I'm going straight to the presidency.
I'll go with you.
Okay, cool.
We're gonna write some choice words.
All right, we're going on a trip to Washington, D.C.
Very choice
hell
words.
yeah.
Just margin.
They were tired of not being quarantined. They wanted to feel the
Yeah, I was
quarantine.
like, hold up.
So
Why
they
we got
decided to come here so they would have to wear a mask and shit. Yeah. They were tired of the freedom. They don't like freedom. They want to be
They
controlled.
needed to be
Yeah.
humbled. That's what
So again, what was the implication there?
That. So
There was a sexual innuendo there. Fairly subtle, but there was one.
so let's see.
So this is
And
when the
they-
COVID restrictions were more
Yeah.
significant. And
Yeah.
they are from Texas. Texas did not have COVID restrictions.
Oh, okay,
but
yeah.
Vegas had more stringent ones or whatever. And so I'm saying they want the COVID restrictions. They want to
Oh,
be
yeah.
controlled.
Oh yeah, like a kind of like a dominant frame.
I'm
that
going
they
into a
wanna be.
BDSM implication, basically, right? I'm leading towards that, and depending on how they react, if they don't give me anything to go off, it might just end there. But I'm saying she wants to be controlled, and then later it can be she wants to be punished, right? Later, there's ways you can take that, but it's already a subtle implication that she is submissive.
Yeah.
That's what I'm doing there.
We wanted to get
We
right
got
in
it
the
too
middle
good
of the
here.
quarantine. Oh, California though? I'm so sorry.
I'm not.
Another thing you'll notice, if you look right there, my face is very expressive during this interaction. So I'm making like all kinds of just crazy, weird facial expressions. You can do so much with facial expressions. You can be intense, you can be dominant, you can be like trolly, like you can be weird, like you can do so much with your face. And most guys don't even think about that. Like, how much do you think about your facial expressions?
In conversation, not too much actually.
Yeah, and it's something that it's something we all have a default, but most people are relatively unexpressive, especially men. I think women are actually more expressive normally, but it allows you to make the conversation more emotional and less logical. Right. The more that you have these crazy facial expressions, the more she gets drawn in. It's another layer of communication other than vocal tonality and what you're saying. Your facial expressions can make things less just like, oh, it's a job interview, and more intriguing, more emotional. And you can see this whole time I'm doing all kinds of weird, crazy facial expressions, which draw the girls in. It makes it more intriguing.
Yeah, and I think that's true, like with my biggest current sticking point, which I said last week, is the whole man to woman vibe, is that like when I'm in conversation, I'm not really thinking about like projecting desire or
Yeah.
like giving that look. I'm just, like I said, most of my conversations, it's like, all right, go to the next thing. I got to go to,
Right.
I got to go for the close. I got to tease. I'm not really thinking that in conversation.
So let me make sure it's still working. So here I'm not, in terms of the facial expressions, it's not particularly sexual. It's more fun and playful. But the verbals, right, what we're actually saying, the content is very sexual, and there's a disconnect between those two. And it's good to have that. Verbally, it can be the reverse too. So you could also be verbally very not sexual, and then non-verbally you project a lot of sexual energy. That works as well. But having one layer of the conversation be sexual and one be more playful and funny, that lets you get away with a lot more.
Gotcha.
Where are you from?
Arizona.
I'm the unfortunate one.
My best friend
Yeah?
from Arizona now.
Phoenix or
Like, Flagstaff.
No.
He's in college.
I'm actually thinking about moving here.
it's the only excuse to be in Flagstaff.
So again, there. A girl says she's from Flagstaff. How are most guys going to respond? Cool. All right, whatever. That's the general response. That is the normal response. Like, okay, cool, Flagstaff. But it's more interesting to be emotional. I'm like, oh, oof, Flagstaff, huh? And that's just more interesting. The girl's going to wonder, why do you have that weird reaction to the fact that she's from Flagstaff? Like, it's just a city. And anything that has an emotional reaction is going to draw people in. It doesn't even have to make that much logical sense. And she goes with it, right? She plays along. She goes with it, even though it's like, I don't have anything against Flagstaff. There's nothing logical going on there, but it's just having this instinct to make everything emotional instead of making it logical, because seduction is clearly an emotional thing. If you think logically about seduction, would you ever have sex? Probably not. You think, so I put the thing that I pee out of into the thing that you pee out of. And like, if you think about it logically, it's gross and weird, right? Like, the more logical you got about it, and then we create pregnancy, and then I might, right? And then I have to risk the consequences of that. You would never do it. It's all about emotions. It's all about a vibe. And that's what you really want to be focused on.
Way better than
It's like
He
she's trapped for 4 years.
You should try Texas.
Nothing to do.
He got a scholarship.
I've thought about Texas too.
You would really like Texas.
They opened up recently.
One thing that I'm doing better, like the vocal tonality is not the best, but one thing I'm doing well is there's a lot of strong eye contact. Most of the interaction, as you look at the camera, I'm holding eye contact. Occasionally I look away, which you shouldn't just stare, right? Occasionally I look away, but most of the time I am making laser eye contact, which creates tension. right? It creates this tension where the girl feels she wants to react, right? She gets more and more like there's a rising tension the more you hold eye contact. And that's something I am doing well. And that's a habit that you develop through practicing it. I didn't naturally hold strong eye contact, but through approaching a lot of women and focusing on eye contact, you can get very comfortable with holding strong eye contact. And one thing you'll notice is women tend to be a lot better at holding strong eye contact than men. Women, it's a way that women test you to see if you flinch, to see if you react, to see if you have to look away. But if you don't, and you can hold it long enough that they're the one who reacts to you, that makes them feel something. That creates sexual attention.
That would have been better than Vegas.
Oh, yeah, I used to barrel race.
They're open. That they took off the mask mandate. They took off all that shit. Yeah. They're open. Because they're Republican. The Republican places are open. Nevada used to be Republican. Now it's not. Now it's not open.
Gotta go two-stepping, you know?
How are your lasso skills then?
They're pretty good.
Are they?
Yeah, I've been lassoing some shit.
Yeah, I gotta
On a weekend, you know? Casual, but still.
Her lasso skills, are they any good?
Her what?
Her lasso skills?
I would say she's pretty good.
She's pretty good?
Yeah.
She said
She auditioning for Wonder Woman? Is that what's going on?
she barrel races. She's a bona fide cowgirl according to her.
It's the fattest babe I've ever seen.
Fattest, right? Goddamn.
But 4,000 puffs, can't beat that.
What, everything's bigger in Texas, right?
They do it better in Texas.
Apparently.
Where are y'all staying?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, take advantage.
What?
Yeah.
Did you notice that? There was something very important that happened.
Yep.
What was it?
He said everything's bigger in Texas.
No, I mean that's a good joke, but there's something that important that the girls just said. That
I have to hear it again. I heard them say like, yeah.
all right, I'll play it again. There's something very important that happened there.
What, everything's bigger in Texas, right?
They do it better in Texas.
Apparently.
Where are y'all staying?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, take advantage.
Did you hear it? The girls have
No.
quieter voices, to be fair.
Yeah.
But okay, she said, "Where are you staying?" That's a very big sign that they're screening for your logistics. They're gaming you. They're trying to find out if they can go home with you. Because why else would they care where you're staying?
I had that
On
happen
some,
to me.
that's
I had that
you
happen-
probably could have pulled, man.
I
That's
know, I had
probably
that
what could
happen to
happen.
me I had that happen to me in Daytona Beach the week before I did your boot camp.
Damn. So subconsciously, most of the time, what that means is on some level, they're thinking about going home with you. It's the same thing as we're not going to have sex. Sometimes a girl means it very literally, occasionally, but more often it means she's thinking about having sex with you and she needs to put up a barrier to not seem too slutty.
Mm-hmm.
Because I've had multiple women who they said we're not having sex, and then later they got upset that I wasn't making a move fast enough. They were like, "So do you want to have sex with me?" And then one girl, I said like jokingly, no. And then she got really sad because that was the way I responded. So when a girl says something like that, that is very important to be aware of.
I like kind of like nerdy dudes, you know?
We can tell.
They were talking about my YouTube.
We can tell.
Okay, what's your type?
Not nerdy.
No?
What do you think my type is?
You like them educated girls. You like them
Oh, yeah?
I like educated.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
smart ass
Sure.
girls.
Girl that thinks she knows something. So we can argue about some douchey shit.
Those girls
I want
that
someone
know-
that can argue with some pretentious, like, intellectual shit.
Yeah, that's what everybody's looking for,
I want to get
right?
an argument about, like,
It's kind of true.
structural feminism.
Oh,
This
hell
first question is like,
yeah.
what's
That's
two
fun.
plus
That's
two?
to me.
yeah.
That's fun.
That is
Plus
fun.
two.
That debate. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. That shit turns me on. Like, tell me I'm fucking wrong. You know what I'm saying?
Tell
I'm
me
like-
I'm a math problem. Solve this now.
So one thing that's interesting there is now she's making a lot of sexual references. Why do you think that is? Do you think she always does that?
No.
Probably not. But because that's the frame of the interaction, because of all the sexual jokes, because of all the innuendo, that's the frame of what's happening. And so that feels natural now that that's the type of interaction we're having.
And I'm like,
Do this calculus equation for me.
Do my homework.
Do my homework.
Do this shit.
Oh yeah.
Do you guys smoke Hollywood? Do you guys smoke weed?
Can they handle it? Is a question. Fair question.
Handle.
I don't know if they can actually.
I don't think so.
She seems kind of timid about it too.
Are you gonna show us her? What if you fall in
No,
love with
I
someone
think so.
else though?
They can handle it for sure.
Wait, hold on.
You're more creative than that. You're way more intelligent than that.
I'm not intelligent. I have a 5 IQ.
He's telling us that he's woke.
Woke?
Did he just say he's woke? He's the opposite of woke.
I'm way
He's
more woke.
e-cow. He's e-cow. He's woke in reverse.
That one's kind of funny to me because yeah, the guy who said he's the farthest from woke that you could possibly be.
Listen, I'm listening to the
He's
woke
the
content
patriarchy.
right now.
So
He's not woke. He's the patriarchy.
Archer's more like a genius.
What percentage Jewish are
You
you?
just like bury somebody in the ground so hard they just give up.
Yeah, pretty much.
Like that's or like you're the one that's getting like.
You!
I can tell.
Keep them in the submission.
Yeah,
The Monopoly's a dead giveaway. I really like Monopoly. I mean, that's how
God,
I
wait,
know.
was that it? Okay, I gave myself away, I guess.
You did.
That was just a really good read that comes from a lot of approaches because I have no idea. She doesn't look Jewish, but somehow I just knew. I mean, you can say it's because the stereotypes of I don't think it was that. Somehow I could just tell. And that's what comes from doing a lot of approaches. It's like an accent. It's something about the way someone carries themselves. You can tell about like their religion, their background, etc. So that was just a good cold read.
Yeah, Jewish, Catholic.
My brother's Jewish. That's why I know.
Really?
You said you dated blue. You said blue hair, blonde eyes. By the way.
Yeah, no, I do.
So that's hidden.
No, I date guys that are like country.
Yeah, but blue eyes, blonde hair, not blue hair, blonde eyes. I hope.
A little bit.
That's some like extreme feminists if they're blue hair, blonde eyes.
I've dated somebody like that, but like,
How'd that go?
pretty good.
You said that too many times to believe it. Pretty good.
And bad.
Again, teasing her, making fun of when she does something slightly ridiculous, making fun of it, not being like, oh, I got to take her very seriously. She's a special flower, princess, queen, whatever. Just being willing to make fun of the girl, very important.
I don't believe you like nerdy guys though. Where's your calculator watch?
No, I like jacked dudes.
So wait, you like
Jacked
first you like
nerds.
nerdy guys, and you like the jacked.
Yeah, like jacked like.
You like the
nerdy guys.
bodybuilder.
And that's why she's a
Chemical
virgin,
engineer.
because she
Well,
wants too much.
Well, I was about to do like a bikini like competition. Do you know what that
Been there.
is?
Yeah, I've done that.
Of course you are.
Okay, got it. I could see you doing that for sure.
Yeah,
With
bikini
the
comp-
So instead of sounding impressed, I say, yeah, I've done them, right? Not making a big deal about it.
sparkly. It's like a bodybuilding type thing.
that-
Because like
that's-
they like whenever you're like hourglass
That's
kind
like
of thing.
Tae Bo,
under the
right?
gas.
Like this,
Yeah, exactly like you. Yeah. So you should definitely enter for sure.
Sure.
Just get to like
Once COVID's
10,
over, yeah, I'm gonna-
13% body fat, bikini on stage. Yeah.
I want to be
Hence the
32%,
tan,
but
hence the
okay.
tan.
Exactly. You hit the nail right on the head. Yeah, totally.
I did one competition in my life,
Really?
so I had to get
That's
tan.
very interesting.
I
Okay.
had to get the spray tan and all
That's
that.
really cool.
So I can look good in the light.
So you know how fucking hard it is then. It takes a lot of discipline. It really does.
It's the same principle for 50 Shades though. Like,
Totally.
if that shit happened in a trailer park, it wouldn't be as sexy. Because he's
It
rich,
just be like hobos
he's
like
rich
fucking.
and tall,
True.
and good looking.
Just
Okay,
hobos. Just hobos.
I'll accept it. Hey, there were some hobos.
What are y'all doing right now?
Hey, what are you-
Oh my
what are you guys
God.
doing?
Y'all are totally like analyzing. I like
Judging.
totally
Judging.
right now.
They're admiring your tan.
But yeah, my mom's on tan.
That Texas tan.
Oh shit.
Gandalf.
No, not Gandalf. The other one.
What are the you asshole?
You are a nerd. You are a nerd. That was a test and you failed. It's Dumbledore. Dumbledore.
I'm Dumbledore.
You're Dumbledore. You're a Dumbledore, but even sexier than the normal Dumbledore.
I need to drink more if I'm Dumbledore. Fuck.
You can't do that. Benjamin Button.
Again, she's trying to lead, right? I need to drink more. She's trying to lead things forward. That's a very good sign. Now I should be picking up on that. Oh, let's go to the bar here. Let's do something with that, or let's pull, because that's a very, very positive sign. And also another thing you can notice is that as this interaction is going on, I still don't love my vocal tonality being higher pitched. Maybe it's just, it used to be higher pitched and it's weird to hear that, but I am getting more expressive as the interaction goes on. Right? I'm at this point, I'm just fully very, very expressive, very outgoing and engaging. And I could be more masculine / dominant, but it's still very expressive, very fun, very high energy. And that definitely draws the girls in and makes them feel like, oh, this is fun. It's carefree. It's not a big deal. And then they're more likely to go along with whatever it is you want to do. Like to go home with you, or to just be like, oh yeah, let's hang out. Let's do more because this is fun.
Case of Dumbledore.
Oh my God, you guys!
And like,
You
calls
guys!
He kicks Voldemort's ass.
No, he's a badass. It's just weird hearing him as being a badass. Nobody's ever said Dumbledore. Man, you know Dumbledore, he's a badass. I dare you to get 2 tattoos that say Dumbledore.
Dude,
Here.
Okay, I don't
I'm
know
even
say
a
no
good
to
word
that.
for these girls, you know?
That's
I have
nice of
to.
you.
Yeah, I know. I feel like I have
But I
to.
never had
You know?
Fuck, I'm so hungry. Oh my god, I'm
Yeah,
gonna
I'm
go eat.
starving
Here.
too, honestly.
You're hungry too?
Yeah, I'm
Yeah, what
hungry.
So he's trying to lead to say, let's go eat. And I'm thinking that's kind of counterproductive. We can pull. We don't need to go get some food. Like that's not necessary because they're giving so many positive signs. So I'm going to kind of go against him and make a plan to pull, if I recall.
How the fuck are you looking out for your girls?
What do you mean? What's your
I just said I was hungry.
You're hungry?
Yeah.
I'm trying to go to the dispensary.
I know. Let's
I
go.
know, babe. She
Let's
the
go to
only
the
one that has
dispensary.
I'm third wheeling, okay? I'm just a shadow.
Yeah.
Shadow of
I'm a shadow.
Mordor.
You guys, if I'm not Dumbledore in my next life, I'm gonna come for one of y'all. I really am.
Come for all of
I
us.
really am.
She
Yeah.
just went from like
Haunt
being
us. I like
really
being haunted.
cutesy to being very cynical and scary. Like that was a bliss.
Oh, I'm scary for sure.
Terrifying. Dude,
Don't
she
let
sounds
the
like a poltergeist.
size. Don't let the size.
Poltergeist.
You know what that is?
Think about it. Yes.
Yeah, like, do you hear the words? All right, if you put that on like a teleprompter, it's like literally, if you guys don't blink, I'm coming for you in the next life. You said that shit.
I am going to
And she was-
possess
dude, she
you.
wasn't so like, when she
But
wasn't
in a hot way.
confused,
Yeah,
like,
definitely in a hot
she's
way.
like-
You know,
In a sexy way.
like tight
Just-
up.
That's your definition of hot. Interesting.
It's
All
more
right.
like
No, I'm very vanilla. Like for sure.
She said lying. Now you're giving me Stassi vibes. That's who you remind me of. Stassi.
No, I got it.
Stop! I love you. That's so nice.
Stassi. Especially when you said that, I was like the evil. Like I get
So
that.
nice. Oh
The
my
darkness.
God.
Yeah.
I'm gonna remember that.
So even when I'm complimenting her, I'm saying she looks like Stassi, who's a very attractive character from a reality TV show called Vanderpump Rules. I'm like, yeah, you have the darkness. I can see the evil in your eyes. I'm still adding, an element where it's teasing. It doesn't mean you should never just give a compliment. Of course, you should give compliments and be positive, etc. But you should also be willing to tease just as much. And that's what more guys are missing. Guys who learn pickup, sometimes what they do is they go too far into the teasing, nagging, etc., and not being positive. You do want to give genuine compliments. You do want to be positive, but you don't want to make the girl think that you're putting her on a pedestal. You want to avoid that. You want to make sure that you balance compliments and being positive with teasing and having fun and being playful and not taking things too seriously.
Yeah, I noticed
wait, there-
when I get into like a social mood, after I've built some social momentum, like I will just consistently tease the hell out of them, but I won't I constantly do the push. I never do like the pull.
Yes, you want to make
Yeah.
sure they're balanced, right? In this interaction, I'm doing a good amount of both. It's not just one or the other.
I was vegan at one point for like 6 months.
It's hard.
Did you watch Seaspiracy?
Whoa!
Of course.
Whoa!
Oh my God, thank
Arthur-
you.
I watched a lot
of those movies.
Arthur is like
Yeah,
Arthur's
that's
Jesus
hilarious,
Christ.
yeah.
If Jesus Christ is the 21st.
I watched the one with Joaquin Phoenix.
What is that?
The one about the vegans Joaquin Phoenix did.
What the hell? Okay, bye.
But it was about murdering chickens and cows. They show them like
I saw that.
right?
They try to make you feel bad.
Yeah.
Seriously.
And it made me feel bad.
I do have weed. A lot.
Do you? Like how
A
much?
lot. Like,
It might not even be legal. You should probably do something about it.
I'm like,
It's
as
got a
long
little
as
too
you're on
much.
the mountain, as long as we're in
nah.
like
Well, I'm like more the pothead than everybody in my group. So everybody just like gives me gifts of weed, and my birthday was on the 20th last month.
Wait. Okay, no. So y'all are from California. Do you think I've had any work done?
No. Lips, maybe.
No,
Really analyze my face right
you were a
now.
7-year-old boy before all the work.
Lashes though, for sure. They've all had lashes.
You used to be a 7-year-old boy.
Lashes don't count. What is it?
So she's kind of doing game herself. Like, do you see any? So she's asking for compliance, basically, right? It's like when a girl asks you for a drink. She's like, all right, do you think I have had any work done? And I say, you used to be a 7-year-old boy. And you could take this too seriously, right? Like, you could be like, no, never do what a girl says. That's not what it's about. But when she makes that request, I'm teasing her and exaggerating it instead of just going with it. What I'm doing is I'm exaggerating instead of playing along. Right. So she's kind of taking the dominant role by making that request, and I'm not giving her the opportunity to do it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Did you hear him?
They do lashes. That's their job.
That doesn't even count. That doesn't count. That doesn't count.
Well, look,
Okay.
Okay,
considering your boobs, I don't think you had any
So
work
I
done
think-
because that would be the place to start. So
Okay,
clearly
okay.
you're okay.
that was kind of based. Okay, but very, very true answer. I think that was the best possible answer to give there.
No,
yourself.
okay, so I
I
had
think
my
you either did your lips with acid or you did threads. One of the two.
threads. No, I never did threads. Never did threads. Did my lips over a year ago.
Who does their lips
Yeah, why would you do your lips before your boobs? That makes no sense to me.
before their boobs?
Over a year.
I did my boobs before my lips.
I'm natural.
I did my
I wanted
boobs
the
before
jaw.
lips. Come on.
I got my jaw and my chin.
Did you ever hear
filler.
that people inject
Get it from an auntie.
Bye. Oh my god. Bye.
Ouch.
Bye.
so ignored?
All right. Okay. Shall we go smoke?
Yeah.
Stash of weed? 10 minutes away?
Definitely.
This way?
See how quickly she's compliant. There were a lot of signs,
Yeah.
like rewatch this video. There were a lot of signs that she was compliant. I could have done this earlier, but she's just immediately like, want to smoke? Yeah. Like, want to do the thing? Yes. I could have capitalized on that earlier if I was a little bit more on point, but I want you to pay attention to that. Like, that shouldn't be surprising that she gave that reaction so quickly and with zero hesitance.
Yeah.
Instead of standing here like 8 hours? Let's go.
Yeah, I'm done.
And some Cards Against Humanity.
Yes.
All right, so I'm saying let's go smoke at our place. That's the place. That's where we used to live. So we're taking them back to smoke / play Cards Against Humanity. And I see that the cameraman got it. I was so happy. Like,
With
oh,
this
he got,
clip, I
he
want you
got
to
the, he got that last
Oh my
moment.
God.
Because often, the cameraman
Yeah.
won't be able to do that because this is like 20 minutes later or something, 30 minutes later after walking. I was so happy that he got that. But that's the clip. That's a good example of a pull with a girl who's very hot, and yet I'm not fully on point. I'm not doing the best game in the world. I'm doing some things really well, but I could be more dominant. I could lead more, but it was still good enough. Right? Game is not like you have to check every single box and do every single thing perfectly every time, which is very easy to think that. You have to do some things correctly. If you do everything wrong, like if you just stand in a bar by yourself, girls are very rarely going to come to you, right? You still have to do some things. You have to take the lead to some extent. Eventually, if I never made a move, if I never said, hey, let's go back to the place, if I kept hesitating, eventually they would have said, well, we have to go, and then would have fucked up.
Yeah.
Right? Or if I wasn't sexualizing the conversation, if I wasn't making jokes, if I did nothing right, it wouldn't have worked. But I also did not have to do everything right to make it work. And that's why this is a really useful clip, because the girl, by society standards, very hot, but despite me not doing everything correctly, it still worked. It was still good enough. I had a client who's 5'5", average looking, maybe even slightly below average looking, being completely honest. Pull a girl who was at least as attractive as this girl. Within about 45 minutes of meeting her, I actually winged her mom for him. And then I was like, later, I was like, look, I have to go back to my other clients. I can't talk to the mom all night. And he's like, it's cool. And then he pulled the girl and her mom to a strip club. And then he dated her for like 3 months after. And this girl easily could have been a model, like super hot, average looking guy, not tall, etc. But he took my advice about leading, and he had a very chill, relaxed energy, and he was able to make his intentions clear and not take things too seriously, right? You just have to do some things right. You have to check some of the boxes. And if you do that and you lead, good things are going to happen. All right. Do you have any
Yeah.
last like questions or thought about this clip?
No, but it's definitely very helpful because a lot of times, like after an interaction goes wrong or whatever, it's just, oh, I'm constantly like criticizing every little thing. And it's like, I've kind of put so much pressure on myself to do
Yeah.
everything right and try to do everything right. Like the next time I
A
approach.
lot of times the question you should be asking is, did I lead? Did I show intent? Right? Did I make it clear that I'm interested, I'm flirting, this is sexual, it's not platonic? And did I like make some kind of move? Did I do something where she had the choice to either say yes or reject me? And a lot of the times the answer is going to be no, I didn't. And that's why you got rejected. It's not because there was a lack of interest. It's because you never made a move. And it's very important to be aware that it's not because your game isn't perfect. A lot of the time, as long as you do a few things right, you could have made something happen. The girl is giving you these signs, but you didn't notice them. Or you noticed them and you didn't act on them.